Hey friend, welcome to the Get Rooted in Health podcast. I'm Gabby Flater, a faith-led wife, mom of 3, certified nutrition consultant, personal trainer, and passionate about changing lives. I know how frustrating it can be to navigate the health and wellness world. You want to be motivated to prioritize your well-being and wish you were more educated when it comes to cultivating a healthy home. Maybe you're a mom who's completely burnt out and needs a fresh perspective on life, or you're searching for a place to feel seen, heard, and encouraged in a godly manner. No matter if you're doing the dishes, getting your sweat on, or drinking reheated coffee while watching the kids play, there is always an opportunity for growth. If you are ready to finally take action about these desires and are ready to learn, grow, and transform your mind, then you are in the right place. It's time to establish deeper roots so you can enjoy a more fruitful and fulfilling harvest. Let's dig in. Hey friends, welcome back to the Get Rooted in Health podcast. My name is Gabby, your host, and I'm so glad that you chose to press play today and tune in. It has been a hot minute, a few weeks since I have posted a new recorded episode. So just figuring out the rhythms of life with 4 little people and just choosing to show up here and really recognize that it does matter, and I do crave this space. I do often go through many of my days be like, oh, I should do a podcast on this. Oh, I should talk about this. Oh, this was such a good lesson. I should talk about it. And then, I don't get the moment to sit down in peace and record. So I am choosing to do that right now while one is napping and the other 3 are getting to watch a little show because that's super, super exciting and super fun for them. And I even snuck in a quick little shower. But I wish you guys could see me. I am literally, I rarely wear my big Sherpa jacket here. And the only time that it comes out is when it is like below 20 degrees or less. But really just below 20. And today's high is probably, I think it said 19. But this morning it was like 8 or 9 degrees. So that was lovely. And just took me a long time to warm up. But yeah, so I pulled out this big puffy jacket that I'm like sitting in here feeling very large and marshmallowy. But it's so warm and cozy. And so that's where we're at today. It's cold here in the Midwest. Kids are watching a show. Mom's up here just pouring her heart out. So I realized that I had not given you guys a final recap of my garden season and a little update on like our chicken status. So I wanted to be able to share some of those things and give you a little not a sneak peek, but like just the inside, so that you're an insider on a little bit of what we did to wrap up our gardening and what we're focusing on next in terms of that, and then how the chicken stuff is going. So obviously garden season is over. So sad, but I feel like this year was the hardest year for me to fully enjoy the garden like I normally do. I still, don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed it. It still meant a lot to me and my soul, and especially as a mom, just getting to have that as a tool and a learning resource for my children. I would say one of my favorite things this year was our raspberries really exploded, and I absolutely loved that. I was like, where is my 2-year-old? Where is she? And you would catch her out in the garden just picking raspberries. Even in her jammies, she would like wander out there and she would be picking like the non-ripe ones. Like, I'm like, no, the red ones, like you pick these ones. But she would walk around just sucking on them and just full of red. Or if she did, it probably was better that she didn't pick the red ones because then she was less likely to be messy. But when she did get the red ones, she was messy. But that's okay. I love that she loved that she could go harvest them herself, that she could enjoy them. She ate way more than she even collected, which, I don't really expect her to collect any. But that was fun to have my boys come out and help pick. And I loved, actually, I was like, I just like coming out here and picking raspberries. If that's all I do and quick spritz the garden, I'm happy starting my day. I'd go out there barefoot with my coffee and just pick raspberries. But let's see. So yeah, the garden season is pretty much to a close. So the raspberries were one of the highlights for me. Our sugar snap peas did really awesome this year, and our green beans exploded, guys. Now, I will say I did not get to a certain section of the green beans because we had a lovely garden spider that I don't know why. I talked to him as if he would talk back to me, but I think it was just my way of coping with the fact that I was going to let him live there. Or she, I don't know. I don't know what it was. And it was so beautiful to see, but also real creepy. And I ain't coming near you. And then I think there was 2 of them. And then my kids moved one of them. And I was like I don't know what they did. And I was like, well, where did it go? Like, now I'm like on edge. Like, they are welcome outside for sure. And hey, the garden can be their home too. I don't mind. But he literally created a web like within a section of my green beans. And I was like, I planted a lot. It's not worth it. I'll just let them be and I'll try and pick around it. So every time I would get near that section, I would just start talking to the spider. But no, it's just a beautiful part of nature and really cool to see. I was like black and yellow and really cool, pretty web, especially like in the dew or after a rain. It was really pretty to see. But our green beans, regardless, exploded, and I planted a little bit more than normal. And I don't know, they just like kept growing. It was kind of a strange growing season, like the weather. I'm not really sure. I will say that one thing, and I have no idea if it actually affected those green beans because I did put them in other beds. So I learned about this method, and now I'm blanking on the name of it. But basically, you wrap copper wire around a stick and you stick it in the garden bed. And what that does, now I forgot the name. Maybe not that. Anyway, so what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to pull energy from the earth and bring it into the soil and create even more abundant crops. So I'll just believe that it worked, but it also didn't work in other areas. So not really sure what to give credit to. I do want to try it again next year. I didn't get it in all my beds. I would like some better, sturdier sticks. It was kind of a last minute decision, so I just kind of half did them. Like, yeah, I didn't fully go all out. I just kind of like quick whipped it together and threw something in the ground, found some sticks, and which it's really not that hard. It still worked, but I'd like to make them all look a little more uniform for next time. And anyway, so the copper is supposed to draw energy from the earth and pull it down into the soil. And I know that sounds like, what? That's crazy. But it actually does that. And like, I have a pair of sandals. They are barefoot sandals, and they have a little copper circle on the bottom of them for grounding purposes. And so there is energy in the earth. There is energy in the ground and throughout the air. And so if it can at all help make my plants abundant, I was like all for it in a natural way. Not super expensive. I just bought some copper wire. That was a little pricey, but not like bonkers pricey. And I was like, I can just find sticks in my house or in my yard. So I had that in my garden beds and a majority of them. We froze tons of green beans. I even learned to pressure can them because I can't just basic can them. So that's water bath canning. Pressure canning is different, way less water, and you actually have to do more time, and it creates and locks in a certain amount of pressure. So there's 2 different ways of preserving food. And pressure canning is one thing that I did. I got it last year for the purposes of being able to fully utilize it more this year and learn more and gain more confidence in it. And so I just had to show up for it, even if it was for just like 3 small little jars of green beans. I didn't want to can them all. We just freeze them. We don't do anything to them other than sometimes we'll rinse them off, but otherwise, like, a lot of them are clean. And basically, we just cut the butts off, the bean butts. My kids love doing that. Bean butt cutting day. And then we chop them up into what size we like. and then we just throw them in Ziploc gallon bags, and we literally just throw them in our freezer. So when we want to eat them, like we just had them last night for dinner, for a veggie for the side, and we just steamed them, and it was wonderful. So we love getting to do that, and so I wanted to learn how to do canned ones, and so I did learn that, so that I could have some to rely on my shelf downstairs, be able to pull that out for maybe a soup or a pot pie, not necessarily for like a side. Something that it would be cooked in is what I would use like the canned ones for, because they are heated up, they are under pressure for a while in the heat, and so they're already like partly cooked. And so yeah, green beans, that was super fun to have a ton of those. Potatoes, I think if I have accurately weighed them over the years correctly, we've got our largest potato harvest this year. I believe it was around 70 or 80 pounds. Super exciting. The kids, I mean, it's like digging for gold. It's like one of my favorite days to go out there with them. And I tend to be the one, though, that has to kind of like fluff it, because I don't want the kids piercing the potatoes, because I pierce enough myself, even when I'm trying to be careful. So they will use their hands, and then as I kind of fluff the soil, they see them pop out and they'll grab them. So it's super fun and exciting. And yeah, we had russet potatoes, red potatoes, and yellow potatoes. Then we let them dry in the garage, so they wouldn't, like, kind of cure them, basically, before I put them in the basement. I also canned a bunch of the russet ones, because that was also something I wanted to learn to do. And so far, so good. Like, these would be things I would make mashed potatoes with, and they're already, like, partly cooked. I don't have to peel, I don't have to wash, I don't have to cut, I don't have to do any of that. So, like, all of that work is already done. And I really wanted to learn to pressure can them. Like, that was one of the things I bought the pressure canner for, was because we could never eat through the potatoes quick enough to, before they would start getting squishy or start growing eyes on them. And I just felt like, man, I can't preserve all of these just by like letting them sit in my cooler basement. They don't seem to last all winter. We have finished, did we finish them up? We have finished all of them now, except the ones on the shelf, which is fine. Like, it's great. We love doing roasted potatoes and things like that. So we have made our way through most of those. Carrots, we did actually get, I spent time, I didn't want to waste them. We didn't get an awesome harvest. I need a fluffier bed. They need less dense of soil. So, and I knew that. I just, with not knowing the current status of like, our, moving and not moving situation here, like, I was not wanting to put too much, money into our garden beds, if that was not going to be here for the next year. So with that being said, it still was a little bit of a dense soil for the carrots, and I didn't put them in a different bed. And yeah, they were fine. They were okay. And they actually were fine. We would roast some of the super, super tiny ones. Sometimes they didn't even get peeled. We just washed them. We just cut off the ends, and then just did it with like salt and butter or olive oil and roasted them, sometimes dipping them in honey. Oh, it was so good. Super good. If you have never tried that, roast some carrots and just drizzle honey on them, a little bit of salt, and it's just like, oh, it's so good. So good. My 2-year-old, she just loved that. She just sat on the porch dipping them in her honey, little pile of honey. So, so the carrots, then they were okay. But we had, what else did we have? Zucchini. I planted a fair amount, not too much this year. I let the squash bugs go crazy. Which I did learn something. I will say this. So I got a mint plant from my neighbor and a catnip plant. And the catnip went wild. And so catnip and mint, they're like the same family. And they just go wild. Like, they just keep growing. And it comes back. So you can leave it in the ground and they'll come back. And so I cut back a bunch of my catnip. And as I was researching what to do with it, I actually dried it all out. I hung it, all the excess. I hung it because my cat, I don't know, she doesn't seem to like want it. I don't know. I dried it out, and then I kind of just broke it. I pulled the leaves off and let them fall into a bucket and kind of crunched them up, and they're in a bag. Because you can have it in like a tea. It's good for teething babies, which I already have a tincture that I bought somewhere. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. It is good for teething children. But anyway, I just felt I didn't want to waste it all. So I have a bunch of dried catnip if anyone needs any. But I did learn this. This is my point. Catnip, and I believe it said mint, and even dill, I've heard. If you plant and intertwine some of these herbs and these plants within some of your beds, it will keep like potato bugs at bay, squash bugs at bay, other insects and pesticides like that are going to want to eat your plants. This will keep them away. So I was like, well, I'll be darned. I'll be planting those in the future near some of these things, because it's just so much work to like have to pick off all the squash bug eggs and then the squash bugs. And every now and again I would kill one, but it's just overwhelming sometimes. I killed off enough of potato bugs. I don't know where they came from, the Colorado potato bugs. I had a bunch of red grub things on my leaves. I spent a long time just knocking them into a bucket of water with my shovel. So that was pretty much what I spent a majority of time doing one day. And, you live and you learn. Each garden season is different. And, so the zucchini, we got the perfect amount for our family, and Alex has learned to eat it. I'll actually shred some up and I'll throw it in. I'll squeeze out a ton of the water before I freeze it, because you don't want to freeze it with all the water in it, because you'll just have a lot of water excess. So squeeze out as much water as you can in a cheesecloth, and then I literally pack it in a Ziploc bag, like a sandwich one, about a cup in each one, like pack it into a cup. And then I will put that in in our turkey meat. Taco meat. We do ground turkey sometimes for our taco meat. So I think that's where I was going. But I put the shredded zucchini in there, and the kids don't even know. Sometimes they ask, what is that green stuff? And we're like, it's just the taco seasoning. Oh, okay. No big deal. But I think by now, I think they do know, or at least one of them. But it adds just some moisture and extra veggie. And it's just a way to use it up. So I've made zucchini bread. We love grilling the zucchini. So we'll cut it really thick, coined pieces and grill them for like 2 minutes on each side. Those are wonderful sides for summer season. So a fair amount of zucchini. Cucumbers were just this year, I don't know what happened. I had to plant them 3 times, and they just, again, soil probably. I need some fresh life in that soil in my beds. But we are still plugging away and getting a harvest. So strawberries were new this year. I've probably shared a lot of this in another episode, but I wanted to share that when we closed up the garden, what I had done is, so I really should have just pulled all of them out, but I'm still learning. So they grow their own, so they're called runners, or it's the sister plant or whatever. So basically the mother plant grows all these runners, and they eventually root themselves into the ground. And so they don't mind being disturbed. And so eventually, I planted these plants, and you could see the soil in between each plant. But now they've so much grown that you can't see anything beneath them. And some people uproot it all and then just replant a bunch of the runners for new, fresh plants. If you plant strawberry plants and you get these runners, you never have to buy strawberry plants again. You are creating your own. And so I ended up cutting out all of the runners that got out of the bed and into my paths, because I had a lot, and I replanted those. So one section is still all tangled and real abundant and luscious looking. So we'll see how they grow. I'm not really sure. But then next to it, I had replanted a bunch of the new fresh runners. And then I had a lot of leftovers. So I gave them to a family member, my nephew, for him to plant. So I hope that they work well for him. But so I covered them with a white netting with hoops, has little hoops that I put in the ground, and then I clipped the white netting over it. So I didn't cover them my first year, because I just kind of threw them in the ground and then they came back in the spring, and we had a little bit of a harvest. And so now I covered them just to see if that kind of does something different or helps in any way, just protect them, because they are plants that will come back every single year. So the perennials, right? That's what they're called. And yeah, so the strawberries I'm really hoping will be good. Huckleberries, I harvested a good amount, and then a frost came and I just didn't get to them. Again, guys, it was a hard year to just get out there, make the time for it always, or want to make the time for it. Like, just, 4 children, figuring out homeschooling, all the things in between with motherhood and personal life things and running, and so garden kind of took a hit at some point in some things. So I didn't get to harvest all of them, but I made some huckleberry jam, and it's good. And it's so purple, like luscious purple color. It's so cool looking. And then I just froze a bunch for when we can make some more. So I have a bag of them in the freezer. But those are all pulled out now. And I had a few butternut squashes. Got some of those. And tomatoes were up and down. I really just was done with them. They didn't grow the way I was hoping. It was kind of a mess. But I am so grateful. I had to remind myself, like, don't be so hard on yourself, Gabby. You grew so much more than most people would with 4 children. I gave my kids such good experience and learning opportunities over the summer, and just good bonding things together. I love getting to bring my newborns out in the garden. So, like, Estella is now 8 months old, and was able to just start her early on days and weeks in the garden in her car seat, and then in the stroller, and then she'd be on the blanket outside and playing on the blanket while I'm in there, or she found her way into the garden and is eating dirt and mulch and probably bugs, I don't know. And I probably have a picture of every single one of my kids in the garden doing that, or reaching into the garden bed. So just really is so sweet, and I'm just super grateful for the harvest we did have. Had to ask God to help me, remind me to be content and actually see the fruits of our labor. We had a bunch of lettuce too. That was early on in the garden season. So we pulled, eventually it was like, oh my gosh, the cold weather is coming quick, frost is coming, and so instead of wasting a weekend, actually we had a lot of weekends that were booked up, so I just took it upon myself. Usually Alex will do some things with me, but I was like, I'll be nice this time, and nice. The garden he'll do certain things, but it's not totally his jam, so he knows that it's mine, so I was like, I'm just going to do it, and he doesn't have to worry about doing a whole lot for the cleanup portion. The tomatoes get a little messy when they fall off and I need to like pick them up and stuff off the ground so that we don't have a ton of squished tomatoes like everywhere. So anyway, I just went to town with the kids. Like, we got wheelbarrows and we just pulled things out. I sifted the little tomatoes out of the garden soil, and they pulled out like cucumber plants. They pulled out all the bean plants. The chickens got to have a feast on a whole bunch of things. Oversized zucchinis. They love the squash leaves. Actually, they liked a lot of the bean leaves. So we gave them a handful of that. We put some stuff in the compost. We put stuff in the trailer to go to the dump. And then, just kind of pulled it all out. Left, what did I leave in? Did I leave anything in? My huckleberries, those were super, super last to come out. I didn't do those right away. But we went to town, so we didn't even have to spend a weekend doing anything with that. We now have a riding mower that sucks up leaves. It's so nice. Guys, I just think back and laugh at all the years, like just before we had kids, and then as we started having kids, how we handled the leaves. Like, we didn't have any trucks. We didn't have a trailer. We didn't have a lawnmower, like a rider. Oh, man. And we get leaves, a lot of leaves. And then our trees, think we have silver maples is what they're called. They don't like drop their leaves until it's so cold, like mid-November, late November. We happened to get some rain earlier on in November, and it knocked a ton down, which was helpful before we went on a vacation. So anyway, we have a rider now, and it sucks and chops up the leaves and puts them in these little bins, and you can just slide them out. And we dumped those on the garden beds one weekend that we were able to get a little bit more of it done. I was able to put a bunch in the compost, flipped the compost around. It should have a really healthy compost soil for springtime. I'm super excited for that, and we'll just keep adding to that. Actually, I should probably add it to a different side now. I'll have to think about that. But we just sprinkled the leaves over the beds. I planted garlic. That's what I did. I was like, I know there's something I'm missing. Planted garlic, got garlic in the ground, probably late October, I'm pretty sure. And it's already popping through the ground, which is crazy. So I was trying to get it covered with leaves. And so I planted a lot of garlic. I went in on an order with a friend. I brought it to her, and she got hers in the ground. This is the first year she's doing garlic. It's just super fun to grow it. And then I made a honey fermented garlic. So this will be something that we can use when we're sick. Actually, I should take it. I've been feeling a little rundown post our vacation. And my daughter has had a cough. I forgot about that now that I'm talking about this, that I made it. I remembered it's in my pantry. So it needs to stay out of like direct light, and you can put cloves of garlic in honey, and about a month later there should be like bubbles, I believe, and just like a fermented process has happened, and it's a great immune thing you can have on hand for your family. And I'm like, I've never really like just went to town on a clove of garlic, but people are like, it's sweet. The honey it helps cut the garlic, the intense garlic flavor. And so I'm excited to try one. I'll keep you posted because I'm going to probably go try one today. And so we did that with some of the garlic that I grew last year. But yeah, we got garlic bulbs in the ground. And from one clove comes an entire bulb. Isn't that wild? You just break off all the little cloves from a bulb and you plant them there's two different ends to the clove, and one of them has to be pointed down, the one that's connected to the actual base bottom of the bulb. So there's a pointy top and then the flat base bottom. The base has to go into the ground with the pointy part face up. So anyway, got those in the ground, covered those up. All the beds are covered. Strawberries are covered up. Huckleberries are pulled. We've got the mint and catnip that are just sitting there too, because hopefully they'll come back strong. Compost was all kind of flipped around, and I pulled a few things out that didn't seem to want to be decomposing. And then, I said goodbye to my garden for the garden season. So it's always a good thing. As I'm doing it, I'm reminiscing and thinking of all the things we did and all the things we learned. And just grateful. I did, because I was saying how my tomatoes were just a hot mess. My mom happened to acquire loads and loads and loads of tomatoes from a family from their church who they just grow. It's insane. I need to learn from them. But they were going on vacation and had already picked and canned hundreds and hundreds of pounds of their own. And they were like, you can have all these. And so my mom shared with me. So I actually got a bunch of tomato sauce that I canned from my mom's friend from church. So we spent 2 days doing all of that. And that was a lot of tomatoing, like a lot. We did applesauce this year, apple pie filling. So we have canned that. We have so much stuff. I have lard on my shelf downstairs. That's pork, rendered pork fat. And then I've got jams. I've got huckleberry jam. I have blackberry jam. I have pumpkin that I pressure canned last year on my shelf. I should make a pumpkin pie with that. That sounds good. We finished up the final couple jars of apple pie filling from the other year. So now we've got apple pie filling for this year. We just had a jar of applesauce with our dinner last night, and it was really good. I lost a couple to mold. I don't know what happened, but that's okay. It happens. And what else? We have the green beans. We have potatoes, tomato sauce. I have some broth still on there, and I cannot wait to be making more. I just cooked up another whole chicken, organic chicken, and then I have a whole turkey, pasture-raised turkey in my freezer that I bought, and we were not in town for Thanksgiving, but I'll plan to cook that up. I buy it because I want to have the bones, and we enjoy the turkey as an alternative. We'll do pot pies with it or with mashed potatoes and stuff. So it's always nice to get all the bones from that, and then I'll simmer that and make some good broth for the winter for soups and gravies and all of that kind of stuff. And then we will be getting a pig from my parents. They're raising. We'll be getting pork again. I got to make freezer space or get a little meat freezer. And then a cow. We're going in on a cow. It's our cow. My parents are raising it, and we're going to get that probably in January. Some good grass-fed beef. And we're going to split that with someone. And yeah, it's so neat to just have these resources. And now we have chickens, and it's like, oh, I just love this. Like, it's slowly unraveling in the way that, like, I guess I never really imagined. Like, I just kind of slowly adopted new life things, like just learning, create new connections. And then, I have family that has connections, and they're a resource. And yeah, you just gather the knowledge, and then you start to put things into action. And it's not, it happened overnight. Absolutely not. Someone sent me this. I forget if I shared on a podcast, but someone sent me this reel from Instagram. I think I did talk about this. I don't know. But it was talking about, like, you're a conspiracy theorist if you have chickens or something, because then you're going to start to question the color of the eggs, because they don't look the same. Like, the ones from your chickens don't look the same as conventional ones from the store, which then is going to make you question where your food comes from and all the things about food, and which is then going to lead you to making sourdough, which is then going to lead you to wanting to garden. And it was super funny because I was like, well, I kind of went the other way because I've been gardening. I then started sourdough, and I now have chickens. So I guess I went the opposite direction. But the chickens are doing great. We actually got rid of our rooster. Someone came and picked it up. I just listed it for free. I don't know what they did with it. I don't really care. I just didn't want to feed something that I don't need to fertilize my eggs. I don't need that right now in my life. And the neighbors didn't care. They didn't mind the rooster noise, but yeah, just didn't want to cause too much ruckus with that. And then we got my friend who I had gotten the chickens from. She had an extra chicken. I just bought one off of her, another one. So we still have 4, and they are thriving. They have a little home shelter thing that I'm now closing fully at nighttime. And there's like a little door that I can close off the ramp of the coop part that they go inside of. And I just want them to conserve all their body heat as much as possible when it dips below 30s for sure, or 20s. I just want them to feel comfortable. And we have fake eggs in the little egg boxes. My mom told me that you could put those in there. So I put a little blue dot on them. So I didn't think they were the real ones, but they're like trainers. And I was like, you can train the chickens to lay eggs by them. So they've never laid eggs before. These are fresh, new ones, new layers. And so they're, I guess, learning. I don't know. So you teach them where to put them. Well, so far they had started just to poop by them, which I guess that's a start. And then we got our first egg, oh man, maybe early November, before we had left for our trip. They started in November. I was hoping in October. So I think I have 3 hens laying, but they don't all lay. We maybe get about 2 eggs a day so far. They don't all lay 1 a day. But we get 2 eggs a day so far. We have 4 hens, but it did get cold, and the darkness has come. So it just doesn't allow for the chickens to be at their peak laying season, even though they should be laying. This is cold. This is dark. So I tried doing this solar light bulb thing to give them some more light in their coop when it gets dark out at night at like 5, to give them a couple more hours, but I don't know, I have to figure it out. It's not fully working. So it's kind of cool, a cool idea, like how it charges it through the solar, the sunlight, and charges through the cord to the light bulb. But I don't know, I can't get the light bulb to shine with it plugged in. So anyway, it's really cool to have that. It was super inexpensive, and I thought, why not? I just wanted to give them some extra light. I buy their feed from Fleet Farm, and I have bought a giant tin, like 3-gallon water thing, but now because it's cold, I'm like refilling just an ice cream pail bucket of water over and over again for them for now, until I figure out this heating base that I bought. So I got this base that was like used or whatever, and it's a heating element to go underneath the water feeder. So I just need to figure out where we're gonna feed that cord to plug it in and out to the coop, and set it underneath there, and it should work. So we'll just have to get that. It's supposed to warm up here, so I plan on doing that probably later on this week, so that my chickens can just continually have that water, and they don't have to rely on me. So, but it's been super fun. The boys love going out getting chicken eggs and checking, and they get super excited. They have been delicious. It's so rewarding and so like exciting. They're so pretty. I have like tan ones. I have olive green ones. I have like teal colored ones. Those are like the Easter egger ones. So it's just a lot of variety, and it's just, yeah, again, just super rewarding after all the time that you put into taking care of them. So I clean out their coop. I probably should do a little more often, but for sure, like twice a month. I don't do it weekly. It's 1 to 2 times a month. It'll probably be less in the winter, but it probably should be more because they're going to hang out in the coop more often. So I'll have to figure out that rhythm. And I feel like I've not gotten into a groove of like how I want to clean it. What am I using for gloves? Like, it's not like this giant big space. Like, it's just kind of a tiny coop with a lot of little boxy sections. And so it's hard to like get in there. It's not like a walk-in chicken coop for a human. And so I'm like using like little mini shovels and buckets and hand my gloves, and like I'm raking things off the ground and putting it in the wheelbarrow. And so I'm just kind of figuring out my rhythm so that it's quicker and efficient each time. But I just buy pine shavings and I just pop those in there. And then everything is compostable. So I can just throw a bunch of that stuff right in the compost and let it do its job. So that's really awesome. Full circle. It's a circle of life, right? So yeah, we'll stay tuned how they do over the winter, but I really hope, I'm excited for the spring to see how many eggs we're actually going to get for that. So, for now we're just like basking in, the 1 egg or 2 eggs we get a day, and we pop them in the carton, and I try to hide it so that like we don't think about them, because I want to like fill up a whole carton. And we did before we went on our trip to Florida over Thanksgiving. I was like, okay, the goal is don't eat these. We're going to fill up a whole dozen of them. We're going to travel with them. And we did. We did. And then my neighbors took care of the chickens. And I said, hey, you'll get fresh eggs then as your payment. So she's like, oh yeah, we will love that. So the boys taught her boys how to feed the chickens, and we just have a little feeder dispenser thing. So you just fill it up, you flip it over, and then it like pours out into all these little holes that they can eat out of. Yeah, so we're just, we're figuring it out one step at a time. The garden. So then, okay. So I'm not really sure where I'm going to be landing next year. I'm feeling the prompting of I should not be planting indoor plants. That is what I'm feeling, is God telling me. Just continue to grow my knowledge base and acquire skills with the kids and through the resources I have, and start dreaming up a garden, I think, is where I'm at. It's hard to imagine not being here and using this garden. But I also know that there's so much more and potential that we would love to build, and the things we've learned here that we would do differently in a new place and space. So I'm really excited and scared to think about all of that. So I have a feeling that things will look real different for me next year come the spring. I do have a ton of seeds because I did buy this 30 count, you don't know what you're going to get, package from M.I. Gardner, which he has an app, by the way. It's phenomenal. He's got such great YouTube videos. He's from Michigan, so it helps because he's very similar zones as me here in the Midwest and Wisconsin. So, and he's funny. He's so knowledgeable and just really relatable and makes it easy. And I absolutely love buying his seeds. So I just got 30 seeds for $25. Didn't know what I was going to get. And I have such a good variety, some new things. So it's just really exciting to have all that and be able to use that in the right time and the right space. So that is, pretty much where I'm at with the garden and stuff. But again, overall, great harvest this year. So much goodness. So much learned, even if it wasn't a ton of time spent out there like I was hoping. And then, although I didn't really share, the way that I water my garden is with a handheld hose now with an extra attachment of a hose sprayer. I used to do a sprinkler, and I felt like that just made things really wet. Everything else other than the plants more wet than they needed to be, and it just created extra mildew and mushroom growth and fungus and things like that, and just too much. So I watered things by hand. We have an iron curtain filter, but it does not filter our water outside. So I had to buy a filter to attach to my hose to help lessen that residue in. Oh, I gotta go take that out of. Oh, it probably froze already. I think I need to go take that off if my husband didn't already, that attachment on the hose. But yeah, it filters that out. And it only lasts for so long, pretty much a whole garden season. And then I buy a new one. I think it was $20. It really wasn't that expensive. But I learned about that and started using that. So with that, I hope that this was just a great time to sit down and hear about the ways that we garden and things we do and how we preserve and, involving the kids and babies and, get little wheelbarrows and shovels and man, your kids will just go to town. They'll love it. And yes, there are the moments of okay, leave me alone, leave me in the garden. Just let me get my stuff done. Stop stepping on the beds. No, don't take that. No, that's not ripe. Don't pick that. Seriously. And then it's okay, I'm done using my words. You go out. But it's really great when you can just be Winston, can you please grab a grocery bag and go and pick as many beans as you can? Or go harvest the raspberries or go see if there's a zucchini out there or a cucumber. It's super fun. And it's really great for kids to learn where their food is coming from and how hard someone has to work to tend to it in order to get it to the table, So, just so much there. And our chickens too, that's the next layer, no pun intended, layer to homesteading there. And we're on our way to learning more, hopefully gaining more land, and then we can implement more knowledge and structure to some of these things. But I'm just in awe of what we've created and built in the acre of land that we have. You can do a lot with a little. And even if you don't have the space to do some things, you sure can get resourceful. That's where I got my pasture-raised turkey from. There's a local farm. They'll have drop spots, and there was one in Waukesha, not far from me. And I'll drive the 40 minutes if I have to, and I'll go pick it up. And, they're a local farm and they do everything, all the meats. And so it's just so super exciting to have those resources on hand when you can't do it all yourself, So I encourage you to look into that kind of stuff, whether that's raw milk or for your meat or for your CSA box, in terms of like vegetables and fruits and things like that. There are so many wonderful people out there that put so much heart and soul into it. I know I do, and that want to just give people a wonderful experience of fresh food and wholesome and nourishing, not fake or full of pesticides and things that just are harmful for our body and for our mind. And yeah, we work hard because we don't use the things that'll mass produce things. And that's where it comes down to all of that hullabaloo out in the food world. So with that, I am going to get cruising. I so appreciate you tuning in. If you loved this episode, it would mean so much if you left a rating and review. And I cannot wait to come back and chat with you guys next time. All right. Talk to you again soon.